It is absolutely amazing to be here and to spend time with you. And I realize that as we're getting started, I'm actually looking at you from a different angle. This is a very interesting way for me to play this game because as we started the conversation, my computer froze, and it's been freezing for the past few weeks. My video has been, and so in real time, we're out here shifting and figuring out whatever we need to make it come to life and make it work. And I like to call these things out as they go on for two reasons. One, because in the back of my head, this story will play out. Like, how does this look in this new area? I have this new acoustic panels behind me and everything. I was so excited about coming out and debuting them out in the world. And life happened. The second reason, so there's an element of this as well. The part of it too is I can also feel myself as I talk about this, relaxing, actually becoming more present, and not having to spend any extra part of my energy trying to navigate how's this going to look in the room, how's this going to come across in different places, and I can just be even more present with you. The second thing here, the reason I'm also calling this out is because of the context that's playing out in my head today. And the context is this element of defaulting versus being intentional. Now, I'm bringing this up in. I'll explore more about the distinction there. Even just kind of hearing those two words put together might already be starting to have some things evolve for you. But what I love more than most things when it comes to really choosing to play a game that's different than other people. Actually, even bringing it down a couple levels here. Choosing to be someone who is helping to lead others to expand and explore life in a different way. Choosing to be someone who is speaking up against the injustices that they see around them, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in the meeting, whether it was done with knowing it was going to come beforehand, in terms of like the setting was specifically designed for that, or choosing to show up when a moment turned crucial. There's the things that I enjoy that allows this to happen on a regular basis, and it's in bringing in the intentionality so that we don't simply default to whatever life had with us beforehand, or however we believe the environment around us should be. And so for today, I love to have us start off here with practicing intentionality. I have the pleasure of spending time with two incredibly powerful people who are out in the world creating and shaping their world and helping others move forward on their path. And I'm glad that I get to spend some time with Ria and Daniel today in a group coaching context. What I want to do here is give each of you a chance to speak yourselves into the room here. When I say speak yourself into the room, this is another tool. So I'm finding myself catching some of the things that I do and making sure that I can, why we're choosing to do this. In the spirit of intentionality, I don't like. I would like to give you all an opportunity to intentionally speak yourself into this room. Let us know who you are and what you are about. Who you are and what you are about. And we will meet you in this conversation from this place. The alternative might be in the default category. And in the default category, it might just be defaulted into here goes my bio, this is my journey, here goes my story, here goes all the accomplishments I've done in the past, this is my title, like all the default ways that we typically enter into spaces with each other. But I know that you two are out in the world doing really wonderful and amazing things. And what I want to make sure is that we are in the conversation with that person from the very beginning and taking things from that, taking things to the stages beyond there. My invitation for you, and this is as you get into this year, is to get into the brag zone. To allow, don't worry about being humble, don't worry about being arrogant, don't worry about, don't, yeah, in the humble, in the brag zone, it also includes messiness. Don't worry about being messy, right? say what's on your heart and let us know who you are and what you truly stand for, and we'll build off our conversation from that place. Let's start here. I'll bring each of you into the room here, and I'll actually, I find like it's helpful when I do it myself. So because I need to play the game. I need, my general thing is, am I on my own edge, right? Um, so with this here, I'll declare it this way. Hi, my name's Niyama Shang, and what I do is I champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. I have group programs, I have group coaching, but more than anything else, I slow down to serve people and create conversations that matter, conversations that they wouldn't normally have if the space hadn't been created. And I help people actually learn the tools to create space for them to show up powerfully in every element of their life. Because it is in the innocuous moments that our future is actually created and the world is actually shaped. Ria, how about we go to you and allow you to speak yourself into the room? Then we'll go to Daniel, and then we'll see how else we want to play from there.
Thank you, Niyama. My name is Bria Kuo. I work with unconventional humans and help them remember how brilliant they are, and to realize that and to share that with the world. It's my hope that the interactions we have here today and the interactions I have in my work and my life leave us both more energized than when we entered the conversation. And that's my hope for today.
Thank you so much for that, Ria. And as we go on to Daniel, I'm going to invite you here. Let's see what we can do to bring that into reality here. So as we go to Daniel, see what bring in whatever you need to re-energize yourself, and then we'll actually be able to build off of that while we're all together. So I thank you for bringing that in right from the onset. Daniel, how about you? Speak yourself into the room. Let us get to know you.
Thanks, Niam. It's definitely a pleasure, as always, to see you. Maria, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to meet you. My name is Daniel Allen. I am a life coach, and I'm also an embodiment of the love of God, and I've been sent here to love you. And however that shows up in this conversation, I'm not too sure. But one of my goals in life, one of my missions, I feel, is to change the way that we as individuals communicate. And I found in my life and experience that most oftentimes we don't know how to communicate because we often don't know how to love. And for me, the greatest demonstration of love and the greatest way for other individuals to get a taste of that is to be living within that love yourself. So for me today, coming into this conversation, I am looking to bring in that spirit and that expression, and to just let it fully saturate our time together. Also, I am creating spaces with amazing individuals in the world, supporting them as they create impossible. I find myself to be a pretty powerful individual, and I love supporting other powerful individuals. And being that I want to impact the world, I recognize that the world is a big place and I can't necessarily do it all by myself. So I look to create impact with impact makers who are impacting their world the way that they have been gifted to do so. So today, in addition to showing and sharing love, I'm looking to step into a space and to just continue to create the impossible, something that wasn't before, creating the opportunity for it to be birthed. And I enjoy surprises, so I look forward to seeing what comes out of it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Daniel. I'm glad that you're here. And I really enjoy the space that we're creating here together here. You talked about uh, impossible. You talked about embodiment. You talked about love, and I'll have a similar invitation for you, Daniel, which is in this conversation here. Like let us be the practice of that. And I love how you said like I don't know how it's going to show up. I don't know how what it's going to look like. Let this be a place where we are practicing and getting another round of practice in that in this space. Now I talk about practice a lot, and I love the fact that we have these conversations in this format because not only are we getting a chance to practice it in this moment, but we're also getting a chance for people to really see us, for Ria to be able to be seen by Daniel, and for me to be seen by Ria, and so on and so forth, right? And it's the person that we know that we truly are, and for what we really stand for, and to be seen in that light, to even practice being seen in that light is part of both the gift and the work that we get to do here as we play in this conversation. So let's build on this here. Today I'm dedicated to one thing, which is to serve you both as powerfully as I can. My context for today is to do that through some coaching and to work with each of you individually. But at the same time, like I said, I have a lot of different tools in the toolkit, and my general thing is to serve. I'm more committed to serving you powerfully than anything else. So we'll let things evolve as they need to. I'm feeling called right now to start with Ria here, and what I'll say here is I know this here when I'm coaching one person, we're all getting coached. So I'm just feeling that call right here. Hi Ria, how are you?
I'm wonderful.
Wonderful. Hey, I'm right now. I'm just feeling the element of like seeing how you've been stepping up to uh, continue to create spaces and continue to lead people in your way with the power that you bring to the table. I just want to just like really just quickly acknowledge you for that. You recently launched the program. Can you like remind me the name and remind me like who you brought into that space?
The program is called A Worthy Conspiracy, and I bring together a cohort of professional women to honestly to conspire against the racist patriarchy. But we tackle issues of imposter syndrome and fear because it's really my mission to. I want women's voices to be heard in the room. I feel like organizations in the world are missing out when women don't speak up. And, I spent a long time being the only one in the room. I was in corporate law for a long time. I was in the tech industry for a long time. And so these are my challenges too. I called it a worthy conspiracy because, I like the idea of conspiring against patriarchy, but I also, the word conspire comes from the Latin to breathe with, to breathe together. And there's something, so powerful in that, and hearing each other breathe.
I am actually I'm just gonna take some time right now just to breathe with you right now. So let's conspire together. Like I love that you just truly own that word and you brought it to what it means in a powerful way for you. If you and I were gonna conspire in this conversation, and the this is the question I would ask. What would we need to talk about for this to be a world changing conversation? It doesn't change the whole world, but I would love to be in a space where it changes your world. What's on your mind?
Connection these days. with COVID, and even that breathing together. I'm finding that even meeting on Zoom where everyone's muted, it freaks me out a little that I can't hear you breathe and I can't hear all the, like, I can see some of the visual cues, but then it's different from actually being present and feeling someone's presence in the room with you. And I've really been struggling with that. I actually, my entire coaching practice has been over Zoom. But for some reason, the last 6 months, I've really been feeling, maybe just because everything is on Zoom these days, I've been feeling that distance.
Yeah, as we're saying this, I was recently at a had an afternoon conversation with some friends, and he was telling me about someone who organizes spaces, and when they meet on Zoom, he's just like, please, 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 do not mute your mic. Like I and it's really cool because it's like he intentionally creates the space that way. Please don't mute your mic. I want to know I want to be in your world. I want to hear the sound of the ambulance behind you, or the cat scratching next to you, or whatever it is. And he's like, I'm looking for that there. This is there's more to the experience than just the two-dimensional like screen that's there, and really filling that up. It was so interesting to me because like it went like in my mind I was like, no, like all the spaces will be so loud, and how can you keep the intention there? But it was like, like that when you say that, it took me immediately to that, because I was like, wow, there is a lot of value in that. And it expanded even just like the options that not even about the options, because I've always had the option to unmute, but it changed the way that I chose to look at spaces where things are unmuted, and just to be able to get more context, more connection. And honestly, the words that were used in that conversation was like, there's so much distance. Like it just helps bring the distance, just like it helps shorten that distance just a bit there. So you're immediately making me think about the spaces that can be created, to shorten distance there. I get curious here. I'm going to ask some other questions, but I get curious in terms of the spaces that you create. How are you tailoring and really creating the opportunities for the distance that you're looking to basically shorten the distance and increase the connection?
I have to say I'm struggling with that a little bit. Even just on Zoom, which is just the medium I've worked with for the last couple of years, I think there's just this fatigue that everyone has these days. And, I have a like community that I've set up on Facebook, but only, half the people have joined, I think, just because there also is fatigue with that too. And just this constant, um, like, look at this, look at this, look at this. And I try to provide value through it and connection through it. And the people who are in it are very engaged and, getting to know each other and connected. But then, like, but why isn't everyone wanting to engage? Womp womp, Um, but I feel the same thing too. Like I feel like I'm in front of screens so much these days, and that was the way I designed my practice. I wanted a location independent practice, and to be able to work with people all over the world. And that's what I have. But right now, it's just like, even when I talk to my friends, it's through Zoom. When I talk to anyone, it's through Zoom, unless I have a social distance, like in the park, planned. And that's my struggle right now. And I feel like a lot of us are having this struggle.
Um, I'm taking note here of some through lines that have come through, in our conversation, even so far. One of the things that you were talking about was it was about energizing or re-energizing. Like one of my goals of this conversation is to be re-energized. Then when I talked about what would be a world-changing conversation, it went straight to Zoom fatigue. Zoom fatigue, then like Facebook fatigue. So like energy right now, I think it's a place that we should be spending some time on here. In terms of engagement and all that, I think we can come back to that. But I like the question that comes to my mind right now, Ria, is like, well, actually, no. Let me slow down because I can feel myself in consultant mode, and I would rather like just check in with you. So when I call out the fatigue and the energy element, how much like where's the resonance for you? Does that resonate as something that is? Yeah, I'd be curious. I'd be curious what comes to mind once I call that out.
It's honestly both right now because I feel like I am energized by connecting with people even through Zoom, where it's a very deep and meaningful connection. But I think just physically and like my eyes and just there is that fatigue with just sitting here and focusing on the screen where you're all like these little blocks and like that sort of deeper desire to just want to be present, more present than like on the little screen where there it's both. It's both and, right?
See, I get really curious about that here. Would you be interested in having a conversation around this, like, and just to explore this in terms of what would suit you and your community?
Yeah.
Would that be the most powerful thing for you in this moment to discuss?
Yeah. It's something that I'm thinking about a lot.
All right, awesome. So okay, I'm getting like the world that's around. There's fatigue, there's energy, there's strain, there's like that we're in this Zoom environment. There's another thing that I want to also just kind of call out that I still haven't figured out yet. You've made it a point to share that you've always been in the Zoom context, or like, not always, but for you've been building your business in the Zoom context. You've been there already, and there's there seems to be something that's important around the fact that like this is how I was doing it. And now there's even more Zoom there. What's the importance of that it's come up each time you've described this?
Okay, well, I think that there was definitely a shift from I'm looking forward to this, and Zoom is kind of a novelty, and the majority of my interactions are in real life, and then I get to connect with someone in Berlin via Zoom and work with them, and that's really cool. Whereas now it's I connect with everyone over Zoom, and it's like all day, every day, and it's not this like fun, I'm looking forward to it thing anymore.
Got you. Tell me more about like the novelty. Like how does novelty play out for you?
Um, I don't know if novelty was the correct word choice there. It's more of a sort of a breaking of the day, but there's a variation to the rhythm of the day or a variation to the week and just, things to look, yeah, I mean, there's this element um, of not differentness, but there's a variation. And I think that with COVID, everything's gotten a lot flatter.
Yeah, awesome. So like I would love to play a little bit with you here, from the standpoint of like I get the status quo. Like generally speaking, things are much flatter. I hear things like Zoom fatigue, and it puts a smile on my face because before there was Zoom fatigue, there was meeting fatigue. And like people are like they're like I just have all these meetings and I'm tired of all the meetings here, and I put a smile on my face because I'm like, oh, people have just they've taken this thing that they didn't like in person, and then they just like kind of like ported it over to this like virtual environment and have created more like that they found a way to take that and bring it into this space here. And it's funny, as someone who considers myself OG when it comes to Zoom, I'm like, karate chop, get that out of here, don't be bringing in that like that's not what I wanted this Zoom experience to be, you know. And so there's an element here that I would love to play with you if you're to to really see what would be three dimensional again, maybe even more than three dimensions. What would be five senses? What are some ways that we can like bring that variation back into the work that we do that is not I don't know. As one of the people who came on to Zoom because it was cool, not because it was a necessity here. I There's an element that I get really curious about. What would be novel, cool variation for you? What's the way that you would want to do it now? That such that you don't just get swept in because more people have come onto this platform and we're almost defaulting into the way that they had approached it. So there, let me just check in with you. Did anything come to mind when I said that? There's some things that I want to just explore with you, but let me just check in with you first. If there's, yeah, let me just check in with you.
I mean, I'm just curious as to how you haven't felt this flattening, this shift, and this fatigue.
Yeah, I'll answer that there. Look, I've been bored in conversations on Zoom. Like the reason that I tell people to mute their mics, I'm like, come on, this is not I don't want to have to go through this. Like, oh, are we? Can you see me? Can you hear me? I'm like, show up. You're coming. This is it's like Zoom is like my house. I'm like, you're in my house and you're out here doing whatever you're doing. You're bringing whatever habits you have out there. And so the element of it, like, look, I've noticed that I've shifted. But I also know that like I have six group coaching calls this week that I'm with people. I have my Trailblazer Collective, which is my paid membership. We're meeting there. We meet online once a week. I have my group coaching calls. We're meeting once a week online. I have been avoiding, and I'll like the word avoiding is probably true. I've been avoiding any like Zoom meetings with a panel. I'm just like, don't need it. Don't like if you want to have a panel, you four just meet up, send me the recording afterwards. I'll watch it in 2.5 or 3x speed on my VLC and move forward. Like if I am not in conversation with people, there's no reason for me to be on Zoom. There's no reason, right? And even in these spaces here, that like I'm creating them as group spaces for a reason, so we can have a bit of that. The context that I brought us into was under group coaching. If I was going to do it differently, there's so many other ways I could do it, and there's other things that I offer around that. But like I have found most of the ways that people use Zoom to be just really stale. It's like they brought the staleness of the rest of life and then they inserted it into my Zoom space. And so for me, I'm like, okay, if that is the status quo, if people are bringing that into the mix there, then how did like this just gives me more opportunity to leverage up to do something different. And so yes, we're still having these conversations, but I'm like I think the ultimate part of it is I'm aware of what drains me on Zoom, and I make it a point to not be a part of those experiences that would drain me. And you know, with the way that I'm creating my life, I can choose. Um, I'm also very intentional about like how I choose to create the spaces myself, and to see like, okay, it wouldn't be hard for me to bring each of you in here as an expert to talk about all the things that you know and like where do you see things going and so on and so forth. But it's far more interesting to me to be in this kind of environment. And then once everyone started coaching online, I'm like, okay, well, everyone's coaching on Zoom right now. Like, what else is fun for me? Oh, let me facilitate something. Let me go out and do something else like that. So that's how I've been keeping the spice alive for me. And I'm not even all that creative with it. I'm not doing quiz shows or game shows or, you know, like I don't have like virtual backgrounds. I'm just going to get this one static, awesome background. See, I really like this background, right? But like, that's been a bit of how I've been playing with it. And I get really curious. There's an element of this here where with you, Ria, I actually don't necessarily want to go down the path of Zoom with you. Like, how do you make Zoom more interesting? Um, I get interested in the variety, the five senses, the other ways to connect with people that aren't the Zoom space for you. Can I toss out some things that were coming to mind as this as a result of this conversation? So you talked about like your group, and you're like, oh, like half the group is being engaged, and why aren't they all like engaging and womp womp, you know? And then you also talked about like for you how it was there was novelty. There was like you got to reach out to someone and like from across the world and have that conversation. But then you said it wasn't about the novelty as much. It might not have been the right word choice. It was actually there's variety. It broke up your day. There are different things that you can look into, and so on and so forth. And that got me thinking. I'm like, okay, Ria, if that's what energizes you, right? Like if you and if that's what breathes energy, breathes life, breathes air into you, then like what would it look like to conspire with the members of your group, the members of your community in a similar way? What if they are also looking for some ways to break up their day, some ways to have some variety, some ways to like engage in a different way with, and not just engage, but to connect, to like to deeply connect with each other in a different way. And so my brain starts to like think about what might that look like if if the spaces that Ria creates had that element to it. Maybe the thing that this is me, the thing that comes to mind when I say this is me, it's like it almost always starts with video and dancing comes into it, you know? So it's like we don't all need to be on a Zoom call together, but like sometime today, take like or record yourself dancing like to your favorite song and just like upload it into our space so we get another way of being with you, or like write in poetry. Is there something in the world of conspiring that adds that plays with a different place along the way for people to be engaged? Or is there a conversation that can happen outside? Everyone might be in their own different places, but rather than being inside with our really well organized backgrounds, we can have that conversation in a place that infuses us with a lot more variety, or a lot more with something else that's there. So one of them is like, what if the online context, like the context of the group, didn't need to like had more dimensions than just Zoom, and more ways of expression and connection there. And the other place is just to see like what are some things that you can do to shake up the Zoom experience itself. Let me check in with you. What comes like let's bring this into both reflection and brainstorming, or actually heartstorming on this. What does your heart say about any of that?
Um, all things that I would like to see. I think one of my challenges here is I mean, I'm deeply empathic, and I take on a lot of what others are feeling and struggling with. I have a lot of flexibility in my life to be able to schedule things and to go outside during the weekday and go for a hike if I want to. Everyone I work with is in corporate, and I know they're in places where there's no line between life and work anymore. And getting on Zoom and meetings, and like everything just blurs together. And I hear this constantly, and I feel it. And so I know that a lot of my clients are not in places where they're able to make that separation as well as I can, and to be able to schedule when they want to be on Zoom, and to be able to pick and choose like whether they attend the panel or not. And so I think a lot of that stress is sort of spilling over onto me sometimes. And when I run my sessions, how people show up is a reflection of that. And I deeply feel that and worry about it. And I know that it's been really difficult for someone to even like carve out the 5 minutes it would take to, put on a song and dance to it, because it's just like the emails keep coming. And I know that world really well. And I know how hard it is to put your phone down and not to feel like you're not constantly on call. And when you're working from home, it's almost impossible at that point. And so, yeah, I think these are all great ideas. I just wonder, it's like, well, I can implement them, but is it even, I think a lot of possibilities and people's minds are limited right now. Like with, and even with children, you're trying to homeschool like right next to you. It's difficult to ask people to be like, please focus on this, even for 5 minutes. And if there's some amount of challenging you can do and some amount of, you know, creating your own experience, but I just also want to be sympathetic to that inability to create that distance from your work or from your children that this whole COVID thing has us living with.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you there. Um, that's like a real reality for many people, and I really do. I call out your empathy there. Two things come to mind here, and then we're going to go to Daniel afterwards. I'm gonna leave it thing on this here. The first thing is that like as much as you were talking about the Zoom fatigue, to me it just sounds like fatigue. Like it's like in all like it has the platform is not the issue. The other like there's so many different things that are being called on people where it's one place or another where I'm on my phone, I don't have the space for myself, so on and so forth. And you're feeling it through your clients and the people that you work with. But there seems to be something that's more core to the equation of like fatigue altogether. And it would be like what feels in this thing in this conversation is like the things that might energize your community, right? Maybe things that we need to like that need to come out of your own community for that. But there's an element here where it feels that I'm feeling the weight of fatigue in like how it shows up in all these different environments in their world, and how that's also like translating to you in various ways. I just want to call that out because that does feel different than like this one specific vehicle, this one specific online context. And then I get really curious around like what would it look like for you to powerfully serve them in the space of fatigue. One of the things that like I love talking about intentionality versus default in my spaces here, like like I know that the outside world default is I don't have any time, and I intentionally try and create a space where it's like when we come here, like you're like it is energizing in itself, so on and so forth, right? But to almost be the antidote along that path for them, where it's where they aren't getting more of the same, but when they enter this space with me, it's something different. It's crafted in a different way, and so there's an element of me that just like wants to open that up, and like, it gets like really curious about it for you, where it's like in the empathy that you have, what if it would be even more powerful or more serving to them to not have to go down the path with them in that space, but use the gift that you have of being able to choose more of your time and use that flexibility to help them be able to craft out and create more from their perspective. And I think we like this is a longer conversation, but I like to offer that to start out with. And I say that because like usually I'll like I know you work with different executives and things like that. They're like, this is just how things are. And I'm like, no, that's how things were. And like we had COVID and the whole world went into this different like we had to figure out how we were navigating. And people were taking on they were choosing different ways of being, and I'm seeing how we're bringing back the way things were into how things are now, and it's really difficult because we don't have anywhere near the amount of variety and places to get energy back. And I get really curious about what it might be like if you were part of part of that solution of helping them create something different that wasn't the default of what most other spaces are asking for or calling from them.
Yeah.
So Ria, I'll leave you with that for now. I'm going to go to Daniel really quickly here. All right, we'll come in here. So let me just check in here. Daniel, how are you? You can unmute yourself.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good. Daniel, I'm looking at the time right now, and I'm realizing we're coming up into the top of the hour. I am actually good to stay on if you'd like to, because I'd like to. I have the time to serve today, in terms of no meeting right afterwards. But I want to be mindful of that before we even get started here. I know that life changing, world changing conversations can happen in 3 minutes, so
Hmm.
I'm not concerned on the time perspective, but I do want to just check in with you. For you, if you would you be open to going over a
Yeah,
few minutes?
man. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll navigate that together. In that case, let me say, Ria, you're invited to stay and continue to be a part of the conversation here. But I do want to acknowledge, like, we had an hour together, and we're at that time. Um, and so if it's would serve you best to go forth and re-energize in a different way, like, please feel free to, like, to exit the conversation from that.
I'm good to stay on.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So with that there, Daniel, let me check in with you. What so far in any part of our conversation, or even the conversation that happened before we started, what is one insight, one takeaway, or one question that is coming through you at this time?
I actually had a few thoughts. One of them was super random. As you were talking about the being in context in spaces that are unmuted, my mind went back to a line from, I think it might have been the Avengers. I think Ultron said, "I think you confuse peace for quiet," or something along those lines. So, like I said, super random. Um,
It actually, like you say, it like it's random, but it doesn't feel random at all. Like, as soon as you said that, my mind immediately went to something else I was a part of. I was taking a mindfulness course, and someone was describing uh, this story about how there was a competition in somewhere in Asia, to for artists to draw to come up with a representation of peace, and the final two contestants came in. The one contestant had drew this beautiful meadow with, like, lush gardens and so on and so forth, and it was just like the epitome of just like a nice, peaceful environment. The other one had, like, a crane with her baby, with a waterfall going on in the background, and you can see that the waterfall had all, like, the tumultuousness and everything, but it also still represented there. The one that won was the one with the waterfall. It wasn't the pristine, like, quiet environment of just like peaceful meadow. It was the peace that can come with life all around. So it doesn't feel random to me at all. That, like, it actually feels really, um, I was going to say coincident, like serendipitous. There's a through line that's going through where it's just like, in the last, I had never heard that story before uh, yesterday. And then in 24 hours, someone comes up with something very similar there. So peace and quiet are two different things. And I'm happy that you brought that into today's conversation.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
So Daniel, for us here, I'd love to leave it to you in terms of how we play. Here goes a question. If you and I were going to talk, I like to look right now at January 2021. Um, I have, like, there's a part of me that feels that, like, once the new year comes, people just be like, I'm over it. I'm ready for I'm ready for something different, right? And they're like, I'm ready to move back into things. And so, looking to January 2021, which is still a few months away from here, um, looking at how you like your life, your business, all that to be, what would we need to talk about today so that, like, entering into January 2021 or the next year, um, you're able to do it in a place that feels like in the most alignment with you? What would we need to talk about today?
Continuing to become a man who takes instant action. My wife and I had a conversation a couple of days ago, I had a nice collection of pop bobbleheads. Like they were all like Marvel superheroes, and I actually sold off more than half of them to a friend from work. But I still kept probably like seven or eight of them, and the majority of those seven or eight were figures from the Black Panther release. So a couple of days last week, my youngest daughter had gotten to the bin where I've been storing them because the house we're in right now, I don't, they don't have their own place. So they've been stored in the bin. The bin has been in our hallway since we moved here. And every couple of months, my wife asks me, "Are you going to take that bin down to the basement yet?" I was like, "No, I'll do it when I get ready." So to speed up a long story, my baby daughter gets in there, rips boxes open. You got plastic all over the place, and one of my vision pops. His head is all like all the way lifted off and facing the opposite direction, and I was heated.
Right now.
The first night it happened, I came in from work and I walked upstairs and it's kind of this mess in the hallway, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I went in their room and I'm looking at my kids
Danny,
sleep.
I'm going to invite you here. I'm with you.
Oh,
I'm actually like I'm enrolled in the story, but I also I'm with you here. So like, if we were going to take us here to the end, let us know. Like, let me know here. I'm
okay.
getting the sense of what's going on. Let me know what's bottom line for me here, so I can. So I
Okay.
can
Okay.
you know.
So to make a long story shorter, um, as I was examining why I was upset, it wasn't because my daughter got into the bed. You know, she's two, she's doing what 2 year olds do. I was more upset with myself. And the reason I began to question was like, okay, was it irresponsibility or was it something else? And so I kind of landed at the place where that, okay, it may not have been irresponsible, but there was something in there that I cared about that I didn't necessarily take care of. Um, Not necessarily understanding all the possibilities there, but um, that was something like removing the bin from the hallway could have been something that was done way sooner. And that's just been a habit that I've seen over and over again in my life. I think I told you about the story of the $5 toll bill that turned into the $55 bill. Um,
So let me go with this, Daniel, because I'm with you on like I'm with you in a lot of different ways, and I get curious about something. You said I wanted to write it down. I lost the exact wording, but it was something like it was something that I cared about that I didn't bring a lot of care to, something along those lines, right? Let's make this real in this moment here, and right now in this moment, what's something that you care about right now that is asking for, begging for, being in your way, in your main like ways of path that you are not bringing the care that you really feel you need to it.
the most glaring for me is my relationship, my wife,
So what with the
my,
wife?
my relationship.
Okay.
Not that it's in any disarray, but in this moment with that question, I feel that there is more that I could be doing. Um,
Let's let's play a little bit here. Like you're going to see me be a little bit more rapid in this question here, but there's more that you can be doing. There's always more that you can be doing in a relationship, which is what makes relationships so wonderful. Part of like what is one thing right now, since you can always do more, let's bring that down into like one thing, and then you can do the next thing afterwards. But what is one thing that you could be doing that you feel would be really attended to, and bringing the care to that?
Slowing down and giving her more attention and empathy.
What was the last thing you said? You said slowing down, giving her more attention. There was one more thing that came up. There were
Empathy.
an empathy. And
Yeah.
all right. So slowing down, giving her more attention and empathy. Great. Like, you know me, we're a place of practice. I have been finding myself for months now saying I don't feel present. I'm feeling out of presence. And my friend recommended, he's like, what do you do when you get present? Well, I haven't been meditating. I know I should meditate. It's 10, 15 minutes. I haven't been meditating. He's like, so you want to go meditate? I was like, oh, like, and the course that I was at that was talking about peace was a mindfulness course. It was what I needed to do to start getting in there. And this morning, right before I came on this call, I did my meditation. I'm feeling it. I'm like, for today, I've taken care of the thing that needed that I cared about. Right. So Daniel, rather than going into long coaching around like how can you be the person of instant action all the time, or like this to me feels like it's part of the practice. And part of the practice here is also making sure that you can also have evidence in your mind to start filtering so that you can start to see examples of like, no, I am someone who shows up for like for the things that I care about. I do take action on it. And perhaps if I'm not taking action on it, I don't care about it. But we can start building up some of those new stories, new experiences, new things to come back on. So my invitation here, Daniel, is for us to end this conversation right here, and for you to take just 10 minutes to like to attend to the relationship in a way that brings care. It could be taking 10 minutes to be like, I'm here to shower you with attention and empathy.
That's
That may
probably
not
what's
be
gonna
what
that's
she
gonna
needs
that's
right now.
gonna end up being what it is.
Okay. And here the thing that comes out of it, Daniel, is like it like my invitation as you do this here is like because this is relationship and it isn't just like one directional, it may not be what she needs at this current moment, right? So this 10 minutes might be you doing like taking care of something else that was on the list that she's been saying, that's been on there, and so that you have 10 minutes later on when she's ready for it, for you to bring that level of empathy to the equation. It might be 10 minutes of researching a date night or a babysitter or whatever it is, so that you can create an hour and a half or more of actual time to really continue being in there. So I don't want to make this just like I don't want to leave this surface level, right? It's the what I do want to make sure that we do is to get you into instant action, but in a way that continues to serve you towards what your real goal is. Are you good with that?
Definitely.
All right. So that's my invitation to you. As soon as we end this here, take 10 minutes. Is 10 minutes too long? Is
Uh,
10 minutes doable right now?
it's not.
Okay.
It's not. It's not enough.
Okay. All right. And I'm purposely choosing something that I would even make it a minute. I don't like it's more about like giving you another opportunity to take care of something that you care about. I'm sure moving the bin would have been a 30-second to a 2-minute activity, you know? So it's not about the length of time. It's more about like if you're calling out this is important, then let's use this here. So that's my invitation to you. Are you good with that?
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Most certainly. Thank you. Thank you for being a man of action. Thank you for being who you are and how you show up, like all together. I think what I like to do is end this conversation here, but like in the wrap up here, I'd like to go to Ria. Ria, if you can here, uh, I'd love to hear from you. One thing during this conversation that you're gonna continue to that you're going to keep on your journey. It could be a question, it could be an insight or a takeaway. Um, but what's one thing here from any part of this conversation that you'd like to take with you from this conversation?
I always like the reminder that, the big, lofty goal, the becoming a man of action, instant action, it's always predicated on like the next small step. And I know what mine is after we get off this call too. It's a nice
Would you
reminder.
want to share?
What was that?
Would you want to share? You don't have to, but I want to.
Oh, I'm gonna go do a workout because that's like physically energizing to me, and it also just puts me in a better mind space for like the thing I'm gonna do after that.
Yeah, yeah, love that, Ria. Like that's the kind of stuff that like that the elements of what is energizing to you, like that really excites me that you're bringing that in and you're continue on from there. I think that yeah, there's more that I want to talk about with that. There's more my brain is going, but I'm actually going to practice myself, trying to be concise and letting that live. So thank you, Ria. Thank you very much for that. Let me end this here. Let me wrap this up here by talking to you. I have my I have my different cameras. I'm like talking to you, looking at this camera, but it's actually here. Here's the lens. Being intentional and not just going with the default. Being able to focus on your energy and to also see for yourself what energizes you, because right now productivity is not when people come in and ask me how can I be more productive, I usually know that they're looking in the wrong place. Because for high achievers, productivity and action will always be there. The element here is, do you actually have the energy to go forth and do it? And then taking elements that feel like big, big, lofty, even high level, or way out in the future, and being able to find the smallest next step so you can practice it right now in this moment. This is the game that we choose to play here. Right now, you've gotten a chance to see me play with Ria and Daniel, two amazing individuals who are on their path of really changing the world and shaping the world their way. If you'd like to be a part of, like, to be surrounded by people like Daniel and Ria on a regular basis, I'm going to invite you to come and be a part of our Trailblazer Collective, which is our place where I bring together globally minded, socially conscious, and impact driven leaders to really go through what I call a courage gym, a gym to work out the muscles of stepping up to play on the world stage. And through that, we go deeper than most people will get a chance to go. We elevate and we connect you more to your purpose than you've been in the past. And we focus on deep, meaningful relationships through coaching, through facilitated workshops and conversations, and through also the opportunity to time and time and time again practice being the leader that you know that you are. So if you're interested in that, I invite you to go to niyamaashong.com/collective to find out more information and apply to come and join your peer community. Until then, I'm looking forward to what you create as a result of all this here. Here's the thing. You got this, and we got you. Journey on. Hey, Niyama here. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and then go ahead and leave one of your insights from today's video in the comments below. If you're looking to take this deeper, you can go and watch another video, or you can go to niyama.com/tribe to get exclusive invitation to our tribe member only events. I'll see you soon.